Ollie Smith says, Leeds were the worst team down lane since, Leeds when we hammered them 66-10. Hashtag 11 in a row. Hashtag we are the champions. In all seriousness, some major issues at Leeds that need sorting, but great performance by Truman and Hill packing that heat quietly up to third. Hashtag come on you forward.
That's a bit strange that they don't have the numbers in a tied up, do they? It's the 11th regular season victory in a row, though. So that's where the 11 in a row comes from. I'm not sure where. I think Rob's 8 in a row is that's Leeds have lost 8 in a row, and the 3 in a row is that they've beaten Leeds 3 times in a row since they lost in the main game that they played them in last year, the most important one. But there you go. We forget about that one if we're Rob. We have a whole different narrative to 2017.
Bless him.
But I think it is, important to point out that Leeds were in the game at half-time at 16-10. 2 really well-taken Tom Briscoe tries, actually. The first one, a break from Stevie Ward and a really, really good wide pass at full pace. And the second one, a neat in offload from Liam Sutcliffe. But they were putting themselves under a lot of pressure. And maybe, I think Castleford were able to physically take it out of them a lot in that first half, because that second try theirs came after 17 metres, and after that they didn't do anything. They didn't trouble the scorers again for the rest of the game, didn't Leeds. And Cass, what it sounded like listening to the radio is Cass really did stick the boot in with the interchanges. Cass went for a big side in that warm weather. They went for a big side, but they had players on the bench to back that up. So they started with Moores and Millington in the second row, that they've done a couple of times recently, and it's worked out well for them. A couple of times through necessity. This week it wasn't really through necessity because they had people like Holmes on the bench. But Watts was back for them. Jesse Senilafay in the lineup too, and Holmes, Massey, Cook, and Clark came off the bench. So that, similar to what we were talking about with Catalan, absolutely big men off the bench, and Mitch Clark and Nathan Massey were really physically impressive in that heat and really took it out of the Leeds pack, when their interchanges would have been bringing on Brett Delaney, who's a converted back rower, and Anthony Mullally, who isn't a physically powerful prop forward. That's a difference maker in this kind of weather, and if you're making mistakes like Leeds were, you're forcing yourself kind of onto the back foot, and the Tigers took full advantage. They won the second half by 26 points to 0, and scored some cracking tries in that as well. Jake Truman's tries looked really easy every time. Every time they were in attacking positions, though, Jake Truman was the man pulling the strings. He set up 2 tries for Jesse Senilafay in that second half too. Jake Truman's a real quality kid, isn't he? As a kid we've got to nurture and see where he goes in his career. But
yeah, he looks like he's going to have.
It really doesn't. I don't want to be all Gary Schofield about it and say get him in the England squad for the end of the year. But when you look around and you look at people like Woods, who's only 20, Truman, who's only, I think, 18 still, maybe he's just 19 now. You've got Danny Richardson, is he 19? Maybe no, he's 20 now, I think, at St Helens. But you've got some young players who are confident and comfortable and composed in those halfback positions. It's not a bad shape looking forward to 2021 when rugby's come home.
Indeed.
You've got to say, like, it's really there's a good group there coming through, and there's even people like Jordan Lilly was pulled back in to this game for Leeds, and maybe he didn't quite impose himself, but there's even kids like that who, if they can sort the shit out, sort the head out again, can be really good players in this competition as well. So I think we've got to be positive about that, and Jake Truman's performance in this game is another reason to be positive, definitely. Okay. Stats then. Leeds fell under 1,000 metres. I'm glad I didn't read out what I wrote down, 100 metres. That would be really, really shit. Leeds fell under 1,000 metres and 90% team tackle success in a game where the stats show they were well beaten by a side with better execution. Cass made over 500 more metres at 2 metres per carry better average gain. They made 11 breaks to 4 and converted that into 7 tries to 2. For Leeds, an error count of 19-10 against them will be worrying for the new coaching duo of Sinfield and Lowes. Individually, Jake Truman, 2 tries, 3 try assists, 8 tackle busts, 4 clean breaks. So he's making opportunities. and he's getting them finished off too. That's what you can say about that stat line. Mitch Clark 150 metres, Nathan Massey 172 metres, James Clare 5 tackles 154 metres, 2 clean breaks. For the losing Leeds Rhinos side, what I would say is there's a few valiant efforts in this. There's a few guys who really obviously toughed it out in that terrible hot conditions that they had to live through. Matt Parcell 54 tackles, 22 marker tackles. I've not had a chance to go back and check the SLP archives, but I'm guessing that's the highest amount of marker tackles we've seen in the game.
No, Danny Houghton will have made more than that. In a half.
In a half. Brad Singleton 46 tackles and 13 marker tackles. That kind of demonstrates, isn't it, that Cass were able to rotate through big forwards and hammer at making the meters, whilst Leeds had poor Brad Singleton making all these tackles. Ryan Hall 113 metres, Adam Cuthbertson 109 metres. In the standings, Sarah, that all means that Saints keep their place at the top and keep their 6-point lead on 36 points. Wigan have solidified second place and sit on 30 points and have it confirmed that they'll have an extra home game in the Super 8, so taking that game to Hull, a game against Hull to Australia earlier in the season actually has seen us result up in ending having the same amount of games at the DWS we had in the last season. So there you go. And we made a few quid out of it too. So I think positive all around there. Castleford retained third place on 27 and Warrington stay fourth on 26. Regain third place, I should say, for Castleford. Hull FC are on 22. Wakefield in sixth are joined on 18 points by Catalan in 7th, so points difference ahead for Wakefield only. Huddersfield have 17 points to complete the top 8 as it stands. Leeds are now 9th on 15 points. Hull KR jumping to 10th on 13, overtaking Salford on 12. Those two still have mathematical chances of staying in the staying in the Super 8s. Widnes are destined to finish bottom and stay on 6 points. In terms of predictions, Super Ruin Dream Team updates, Sarah, I went 4 out of 6 last week, and the co-hosts, who were championed by Tim, weren't it, last week, went 3 out of 6, so disappointing performance there for you lot. I'm on 84 now cumulatively, and you lot are on 81, so I've recovered from my early season dip in form, and I'm on top there. In the Super, Hutch keeps his top at the lead. Someone called Lynn Van Wyk wears the yellow cap. I don't think she actually watches or listens, so less about them.
No, I'd like to point out that I'm currently top of our family one.
Excellent. Well,
get out, Dad Joshua.
I didn't want to go into it with you, Sarah, because I didn't want to upset Helen too much, but she was one of the wooden spoon carriers in the SLP League this weekend. But now you brought it up, I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, it's always good to have a dig at her, because she's generally better than me at everything, so that's all right.
Fair enough. Okay, in the Dream...
If she's even listened this far.
And in the Dream Team, Alan Bagley keeps his place at the top, but did lose some of that lead again this week. John Hamilton's side, Back, Sack and Craig Kopchak, they had the best weekly performance this week, 677 points, so well done to John Hamilton. John Hamilton's the Leeds fan who lives in the Lake District, isn't he? So I'm off up to the Lake District after we've finished this recording, Sarah. So there you go.
So you're gonna pop in and
maybe
see him?
So. I don't know where he lives or anything like that. I'm a weird stalker. So, but maybe if he lives around Coniston, we can arrange something. Okay, that is the Super League well and truly covered. I think we've given that good airtime this week, and we got Sarah's soapbox involved as well, which was excellent. So we've got Mark Rants and Sarah's soapbox. We need to create something for the rest of them now. Right, that is Super League look back on. We're now going to look at other results from around the world of rugby league, if I get that out without stumbling. Okay. Other results now, sponsored by jkmartwork.com. Check out jkmartwork.com, where you can buy prints, canvases and more of James's stadium paintings. All UK Super League clubs are covered, and a couple of clubs outside of Super League 2, as well as football stadiums, cricket grounds and more. JKM Artwork can help you find the perfect gift for the sports fan in your life. They do also, for Super League clubs, have retro paintings of their older stadiums as well as the newer ones. I got a Central Park one, which I put a picture out of last week on the Twitter feed, which is really cool. And Yeah, I got a Central Park one because Emma's going to do something, a DW Stadium type thing, because she's going to maybe try and do some stadium prints. So look out for those becoming available. But I'm annoyed because she's done so well to get a job so fast that she might not get around to it now. Which so that burgeoning business idea is
yeah.
But here we go. I've also had some great T-shirt ideas. And I'm going to put these out there now, so we can gauge some interest and see if I can then get something going on to design them. So what I'm thinking is a Wigan Golden Edge one, right? Which will have the heads of the 4 players on the Golden Edge in gold. But it's difficult at the moment because do we put Josh Woods' heads or George Williams? Do we put Liam Marshall's or Joe Burgess's? There's so much gold out there. A Hull FC one with what's his face? Jake Connor, just saying he's our club. But then an England one with Jake Connor saying he's our grub now too. They're my main ideas. Anything else I keep thinking of is having a go at other clubs rather than being nice about other clubs. So obviously the whole Kingston Rectums one, that'd be quite easy to fill out as well, because as well as the rectum himself, Joel Tompkins, you've also got a few other characters, let's say.
They are going for a team of, aren't they?
Justin Carney and now Todd Carney. It's, you can get a bit of a set going on there, but we'll see how those goes. But something for me to think about as the year goes on. Okay, other results though is what we're meant to be talking about, Sarah, and it was the championship.
Yes.
It was round 20 in the championship. It started on Saturday, a very exciting game in Toulouse with big top 4 ramifications. Toulouse 20, London 20. So in a weird way, the big losers out of that are Halifax, even though we get to their result later on, because that means that their extra point doesn't negate their points difference issues that they have against these sides now. London with a late comeback in that one. Toronto. The other game on Saturday was Toronto 68, Sheffield 4. That saw Toronto lift the league leaders' shield for the championship, and we got a fan review in on this one. I think it's a bit tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic in tone, but do you want to take us through it, Sarah?
Yep. Genghis Campbell says, random expansion team Toronto, cynically financed by an owner with unclear intentions, copyright R. Elston, were near faultless in front of around 7,000 Canadians who care nothing for the game. Liam Kay cynically kicked the ball 70 metres downfield to score, followed by the RFL pouring money into North America by presenting the championship shield to chants of football's coming home. Awful day out.
I mean, that Robert Elston interview on Whippets and Flat Caps last week is a really interesting listen. Listen to my SLP short with Gav Wilson. Get onto that, because they had an hour and a half nearly of Robert Elston answering questions, and one of the things that did come up was Toronto, and one of the strange things out of that was Elston's real reluctance and nervousness around the Toronto expansion, just because he's underpinned that it's kind of at the moment reliant entirely upon one man, really, one man and his money, and until there's roots have really grown in there, if that one man and his money goes, you might necessarily find that there's a community and stuff behind it to pick it back up. Because you could argue, that Catalan are about one man and his money, Huddersfield are about one man and his money, London are about one man and his money, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Salford were as well, arguably. But what you've got with those clubs is a little bit more history now, a little bit more foundation, and a little bit more opportunity and chance of someone else wanting to come in. Whereas at Toronto, maybe the fear is we're not quite there yet. I'm really confident that we'll get there with Toronto, so I don't have the nervousness about it that Mr. Elston does, and I hope Genghis Campbell's pleased to hear that from Super League Pod.
Have you been in touch with Mr. Elston about doing a short then?
I've not tried to yet, to be honest. I nearly ran into him the other week at a game, and it just got pulled away before I was going to walk over and say hello and stuff. But yeah, right. It's something that's crossed my mind, but I'm not quite sure he'll give us the time of day yet. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, moving on to the next game. This was a big one for the bottom of the table, and it finished really excitingly with a late sort of comeback win for the Rochdale Hornets, 28 over the Swinton Lions,